New Earth AC was formed by divine guidance to help lift up humanity and raise the vibration of all. New Earth is a community that started as a Facebook group and has grown to become an online interactive platform for those seeking to uplift, empower, and co-create with one another. On top of uplifting and inspiring posts, we began to connect with our members on a more deeper level. We now regularly host what we call Unity Circles and live stream them on our YouTube channel. Each circle is hosted by a member who wishes to share their knowledge and gifts out to the world in hopes that they can make a difference in the lives of others. You can find these circles inside the New Earth AC Divine Ray store and on our YouTube channel. Please take whatever resonates and let the rest fall away. AC is always on the lookout for new Unity Circle hosts. If you have special gifts and know that what you have could uplift, empower, and inspire others, if you want to make a difference in the world, why not host an online Unity Circle with us? We always live stream the circles onto the New Earth YouTube channel and promote our hosts to the world. If you think you have something to give, let Bonnie Bird, David Starr, and Robin Nicole know personally, or email us at newearthac1111@gmail.com, and we will place you onto the calendar and bring you onto a community chat to let everyone get to know you before your circle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're here, ready to do a community chat. Let me just, we have to unmute our friends. Jesse, for some reason, you've gotten muted. There you go. So we're here to do another Unity Circle, and we have a lovely person. Her name is Victoria Reynolds, and I just want to tell you a little bit about her. Today, she's going to be discussing divine prosperity and financial freedom. And Victoria Reynolds is a spiritual luminary, best-selling author, and creator of Fearless and Free TV. Victoria was born into a polygamist cult in the mountains of Montana, where women had no voice. She liberated herself as a teenager, eventually owning and operating several successful companies. In 2008, the economic crash led to her midlife awakening and change in professional trajectory. Her spiritual gifts were activated along with her soul's higher purpose. She uses the power of her voice and gifts to assist the liberation of humanity from the confines and controls of fear. And we're so happy to have you here today and bringing your gifts out and sharing your personal tools out to the world. And today you're going to be talking about prosperity in the 6D, which is a very interesting topic. And you're just getting ready to launch your new program, and it's called the 6D Money Tree. So we're really interested in hearing all about it. And Bonnie, do you want to say anything to our guest? And Jesse?
I'm excited to hear what you have to say. The financial thing is where I would need help for sure.
Yeah. And I'm just excited too. And I think you sound like the things that you do are very helpful to people and very interesting. And so I really am excited to hear exactly what it is you're up to. So I guess with no further ado, we'll just let you tell us what you want to share with us.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. It's been, I think I mentioned I've been on vacation with my son for the last week and a half, and I just woke up this morning and here I am back on camera. So back into the real world, bam. So I, of course, didn't start out teaching about financial prosperity. The way that I grew up with every irrational, fear-based belief you can possibly imagine about money. From that women aren't allowed to have it, that it's something to be afraid of. Literally, one of the beliefs I grew up with was that money was evil, and that even having it made me a bad person. So this idea of spiritual prosperity didn't even cross my mind. I didn't even know it was a thing until a couple of years ago. I was on a tour bus with some friends, and one of them said, "Oh, I was raised with financial prosperity." And I was like, "What?" Like that was even a thing that I didn't even know that there were people who were raised with the belief that money was a good thing. So I started tuning in and kind of asking spirit about prosperity, about money. And I knew that I had my own money issues that I needed to get over, because I finally realized one day that I had a lot of beliefs that were continually sabotaging me. And I started to realize this started about 10 years ago, I guess, at the beginning of my spiritual awakening. I started to discover that my beliefs about money were actually sabotaging my household income. So even though my husband was very successful, my beliefs about money kept us constantly, like things would happen. And just, it's one of those, just when money starts to get good, then the car breaks down, or that kind of thing. And then I started to realize it was my beliefs about money that were dragging us into this continual like roller coaster financially. And so I wanted to know how to get past that. And so I just started tuning in and asking spirit for answers about about money. And I started to understand that what I'm here to teach is to teach humanity how to overcome their fear-based beliefs. So my understanding is we've been living in a fear-based reality for approximately 12,000 years, where all of our choices are made in fear by default until we learn how to make conscious choices based in love. The default is fear. It's, we're born these beautiful, loving by default beings, and we learn fear. And fear becomes the great controller, if you will, of all of our choices and all of our actions throughout our lives until we start to recognize fear. So I started seeing that the biggest issue on our planet, all of the issues on our planet, are actually stem from fear and fear-based beliefs. So I get this kind of discussion sometimes with people who say, well, fear is a good thing because it's like self-preservation. The important thing is to decipher what fear-based beliefs are. So in my case, I was raised with fear-based beliefs disguised as love. That's what makes them so tricky, because they look like love on the surface until you start to dismantle them and realize they're actually based in fear. And so I started wondering how to fix my own money issues, and came to discover that all of my issues about money were based in my own fear-based beliefs. And so I had to start dismantling my own beliefs. And it's funny, the message that came in this morning from Spirit just before I jumped on camera is that there is a virus that's been plaguing our planet for thousands of years. And that virus is the virus of unworthiness. And that is I call them hand-me-down beliefs. So that unworthiness is a hand-me-down belief that's been handed down from generation to generation to generation, that causes us to feel, even completely unconsciously, worthy of prosperity. And part of these are beliefs that are built into our structures, into our religiosity structures, and into our belief structures, that love of money is the root of all evil. And the opposite is true. That when we genuinely love money for the gift and the resource and the potential that it has, that we can completely shift our relationship with it and receive it with so much more grace and ease, and become better stewards of it, because we're no longer afraid of what it means to have it. So that was a huge breakthrough for me, was understanding that everything I believed about money was upside down and backwards. And the most important thing for every person to keep in mind is that there is no person on this planet who is born unworthy. Every human being has the same worthiness as everyone else, and this concept of unworthiness they're just fear-based beliefs that keep some people from achieving their true divine potential, and other people who use it as these beliefs in unworthiness almost as a means of controlling other people to prevent them from rising to their own greatness, the greatness that exists within every single one of us. So everything in the universe is created to prosper. There isn't anything that isn't created to prosper. Every seed, every tree, everything is encoded with greatness and encoded with the ability to prosper. And it's only our own beliefs that sabotage our own prosperity. Now, at some point we may eventually outgrow money, but right now it is the best resource for exchange that we presently have on our planet. So we need to shift our perspective about money as a resource that is given to us by source. So one of the things that came through to me a few years ago is there's source, resource, and resourcefulness. That's it. And this gift is given to us by source as a resource. We use our resourcefulness to grow it and to make it expand. And I'm just now being reminded of one of the parables that Yeshua, I prefer to call him, talked about how the master gave the servants talents, and one of the servants grew the talents and the other one like hid the talent and didn't grow. Well, this again is about resourcefulness and about understanding that every one of us is meant to use our gifts and our talents and our resources and the money to help us grow and become better people. And one of the things that I was shown a couple of years ago is that not only are we all worthy of money and deserving of money, but the planet herself needs those who are in the vibration of love to have money so that we can shift the entire planet out of fear and into love. And as long as the money is being held by only those who use it for greed, it's not serving its fullest potential. Money can serve its fullest potential in the hands of love. That's why the love of money is so important. That we need to understand money for what it is as a gift and a resources and the greatest tool we have for transformation. And so it's one of the things that I've become really passionate about teaching people, because I've seen how it's been used. Money, in a sense, has been used to manipulate people from becoming their full potential by the people who have it. And these fear-based beliefs are handed down and believed as truth when they're actually just fear-based beliefs that are false. If they're based in fear, they're false. That's one thing Spirit's made very clear. If a belief is based in fear, it's false. The truth is always loving 100% of the time. And that it's about completely flipping the script that we all have about prosperity and understanding that every one of us is born to prosper. Every one of us was created with the ability, I not say every one of us, because there might be some souls who have chosen to come in and experience physical disabilities and things like that. But for the most part, every human is born to prosper. And we are all born of the same worth and value. And that all of these beliefs about some people being more worthy and less worthy than others, or that money is somehow evil, that money makes people evil, those are all false. And so I'm kind of on a mission to get people to understand that prosperity is our birthright. We're all stewards of this birthright. And And it's funny, the word that I'm being reminded, and I talk about it in my 60 money tree, is that this is essentially our allowance. That source gives us an allowance, right? And what we do with it, we're allowed this. What we do with it is everything. You know, we can either squander it on stuff, or we can use it to actually make the world a better place. And the more we become wise stewards of our prosperity, the more it shows up in our lives to steward. It's a completely different paradigm from what we've always been taught. I don't know about the three of you, but for me, it's a completely opposite paradigm of how I was raised.
It's completely opposite for me too. I mean, you just always thought, well, money was what other people have, you know, just for some reason you don't have it. And it's really amazing to flip it upside down and realize that it's the real truth is that you are abundant and you're allowed to have whatever you choose, whatever your heart chooses. You just have to allow it. And that's the hardest part, you know, to allow, because you get in your own way when it comes. It's energy like everything else, and you get in your own way with your thoughts and the way that you think about things, you know.
Right.
I have a little bit of a question. What do you do when so your thought forms, you're finally getting past all of these old ways of thinking about money and abundance and all of this, and you're finally starting to kind of project out a more positive view, and you're living in a house with people that still have that lack mentality, and how do you change that for you, like your income and what's happening when somebody in your house is stopping they're making things be more like a lack mentality?
Well, I do something that's a little bit different in that I put a bubble of protection around myself. I put a bubble of protection around my prosperity so that other people's beliefs and thoughts cannot penetrate my fields. And I think that's something that so few people have been taught how to do. And so I have a bubble of protection around myself. I have a bubble of protection around my house, around my website. I have one, you know, around my money tree, which is the program I'm teaching is to teach people how to grow money trees in the 6th dimension. So I have bubbles of protection around my prosperity so that other people's disease can't affect my prosperity.
That's good. That's a good point, because we've all heard of putting the bubble around the body and around your home or your car when you leave it or whatever. Who would ever thought about your prosperity? So that's amazing.
So you can even do that even if your spouse is thinking otherwise as far as prosperity goes.
Right. So he's going to have his own thoughts, but you can set a protection so that his beliefs don't affect your beliefs. So he might, you'll see your income increase. He might go up and down or what's going on with his, but yours can continue to grow because you protect it. So I have, I have a money tree that I have been growing, and he's now my ex-husband. I'm officially divorced as of a couple of weeks ago. But at the time, I planted a money tree in my husband's office. He never believed me. He was like, yeah, all right. And he'd ask me about it every once in a while. If, what's wrong? What's happening with my business? I'm well, let me check in and see. And I just virtually check in with this, he thinks, invisible money tree. I can see it perfectly, but of course he can't see it. And so I put a protection around the prosperity that was growing in his office from him. Because his negative energy and doubt and all that causes a disease in your prosperity. So I had a money tree growing in his office that I protected from him.
Okay, so will you tell us about this money tree thing and like this, because you say like he thought it was invisible. Can you explain what this money tree is? Or
well, it's an etheric tree. So it's growing in the 6th dimension, which is, my understanding is that's where the field of creation is. My higher self and source explained this to me, maybe you want to say 2016, I think, somewhere in there. I'd never even heard of the sixth dimension. And I was out one morning and my higher self said, meet me in the sixth dimension. I was like, what the heck? I don't even know what that is. And then the message was that in the sixth dimension, time and money are irrelevant. That's where instant manifestation is. So ask and receive comes from the sixth dimension. There's no limitation of time or money. So a lot of times people expect the prosperity to show up as money, and we can bypass money entirely because it's really about the thing that we want to do with the money. So we can access the thing that we want and bypass money entirely. But what I started being shown is that how manifestation grows in the sixth dimension. So when we set our intentions and our desires out into the universe, that's where they get planted. That's also where our negative beliefs and thoughts get planted in this quantum field. So I started, actually the individual that gave me this program is Einstein. I've discovered he's a good friend of mine. And he showed me how money actually grows in this quantum field. And that when you focus on growing your prosperity etherically, it manifests physically. So it doesn't require hard work. We've always been told that making money has to be hard work. That is simply not true. Does there need to be some action involved? Yes. Half of the word attraction is action. The law of attraction, right, is attract, but there also has to be some action in there. But it doesn't have to be huge action. It can simply be attracting and then acting upon what we're calling into our fields. So, so here's a perfect example. I was with a friend of mine a couple of years ago, and we were out walking on the beach, and she said, I would really like some lemons. The next day, a friend of hers brought her a bag of lemons. The only action she needed to do was open the door and let her friend in. And her friend said, for some reason, I just thought I got this idea that I needed to bring you some lemons. So that's how it works, is that we plant our desires into this quantum fields, and then it physically manifests in our physical fields. So the 60 Money Tree program is teaching people how to plant money trees in this quantum field and have it physically manifest here. And it's a really fun program because I set it up to be like a class, like an elementary school class. I was told to make it as simple as possible, so that anyone, no matter where they
I
are,
have to ask you this.
journey.
Is Joshua the one that's telling you to make it simple as possible?
No, that was Einstein.
Oh, okay. Because Joshua's always saying to me, make it simple, make it simple. The simpler, the better.
Because from source perspective, we are all children. Mm-hmm. And if concepts start to get too complex, the human mind has a hard time grasping it. And the more simple we can keep the teachings, the easier it is for spiritual newbies to be able to grasp it, one, and to understand that this is available to anyone. And so when Einstein first started explaining it to me, I said, well, why me? I know nothing about science. Why in the world did you pick me? And he said, because I'm not a scientist is specifically why he gave it to me. Because he wanted to give it to someone who could understand it from a very simple perspective and teach it simply for anyone to understand. If you get too sciencey on people, then some people just can't grasp it.
Check out.
Explain it to me. It's super simple.
Yeah. So, and also people want it to be fun. They don't want it to feel like they're back in school. You know what I mean? Simple.
It is the most fun you'll ever have in an online program.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. And it includes meditations and teaching, but the home play assignments, I call them, they're fun. They look like elementary school, not entirely elementary school, but they're kind of cartoonish and playful, and the important thing is to keep it playful. So one of the things that Spirit told me years ago is that it's all about play. It's all about having fun. And the more fun we can make things, the more playful we can make things, the easier it is to actually attract those into our lives. It's that when we try to make things hard, that in essence, we're damming our own flow.
Mhm.
So is your program like little modules that you have put together? Is that how it's working?
Yeah, it's 9 modules.
Okay.
And it's all based in teaching people how to grow prosperity in the quantum fields and then have it manifest here. And it includes some of the basics, like clearing your fields, you know, and cleaning up money clutter, things like that start to block us from our own prosperity. So money clutter can include beliefs. Beliefs that we picked up when we were kids are actually part of the clutter. So it includes some of that as well. It's basically how to use the etheric field to grow anything you want, from the very beginning of what you would do if you were growing your own garden physically. It's how to do it etherically. So it's super fun. I went back and ran through it just before I uploaded everything to the website, and I was just having the best time watching this program. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so fun.
Now, does the program come in like one full package, or can you buy separate things separately, or how does it
Yeah,
work?
you don't want to buy things separately. They each module builds on top of the previous one.
Okay.
So it comes as a 9 module program.
Okay.
And then people access them. It's a self-study program, or a self-mastery program, if you will. And it's set up that way for people to be able to go at their own pace, and then also be able to go back and retake modules if they feel like they need to retake them. So I like teaching this way, in that it allows people to transform their lives in their own time frame, because transformation isn't one, it's not an overnight process, but 2, every person processes it differently. So if you're going through a class where it's like boom, 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 and everybody has to do it all at the same time, that doesn't feel to me as beneficial as allowing people to take the courses on their own time frame when they feel like they're ready for the next one. When they buy the class, they get access to all of them at the same time.
I really like the fact that you have them recorded and people can go back and look at them. I think that that's the new way of teaching. I really, instead of like people just taking like a webinar and just like everybody going in at the workshop or whatever, all in like the one day, and then like listening to someone talk about all the stuff, and then like and then going away and thinking, what the heck did I just hear? Because like too much information kind of came in. I'm noticing that we're all being guided. Most of us are being guided now to do these like little modules and put these programs together for people to come and access and be able to get in an infinite time. Like they don't have to be there on such and such a day at such and such a time to get access to these programs now.
Yeah. It's more liberating for both the teacher and the student.
Mm-hmm. It is.
How long do you have access to the modules for? Indefinitely, or like?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm assuming indefinitely. I haven't put any kind of clock on it.
I'm just curious if, like, after the period of time is finished, if you can still access replays and stuff.
As far as I know, that I haven't discussed that with my web designer to see if we should put a time frame on it, but at some point it might be for the next year or 2. I don't know. I'd like to re-record them. I have a vision for what I want this program to look like once we're not all Zooming from our home. And I can get into a professional studio and re-record it professionally. But for right now, it's going to be accessible for anybody, unlimited, for as long as they have the membership. Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't
And so
care.
they can get this on your website, victoriareynolds.com. They can go in there and everything's right there. They can purchase the course and everything is there.
Not quite yet.
It's on its way.
Yeah, well, the program officially launches on 8/8.
Okay.
Oh,
You know,
AA.
we're like, what date? And we went, oh, 8/8. That's the perfect. And eight
It
is
is the perfect day.
Well, the number 8 also is the number for prosperity, numerologically. So 8/8, and it's it's a big opening of the Lion's Gate, when the planet herself and all of us have greater access to the prosperity that's wanting to attract to our planet. And so we chose 8/8. What people can do between now and then is go to my website, and I have a link on there that takes them to a landing page where they can click that they're interested, and it'll actually put them on an email list specifically for this program. And then when the program launches, they'll get like the first people to know that it's available. So, but you can't actually purchase it yet.
Okay. But it's only 4 days away.
Yeah, but they can go and opt in to be notified for when it's available.
That's cool.
That's cool.
So do you have like a tool or something you'd like to share with the people that are watching and us, a meditation or some sort of thing that you do with people to help them with their money lack and all that?
The first thing that I would suggest people do is write down all of their beliefs about money. Just free form writing every belief about money they've ever been told, and they start to unravel. So what I find when I do free form writing is that I'll write the surface beliefs, and then underneath it, more of them come up, and more of them come up. And so the deeper we go into our subconscious beliefs, and then what's interesting is that gives us the ability to look at our beliefs and go, oh my gosh, just to start to see the levels of irrationality that we all have about prosperity, that are unconsciously playing out in our lives every single day and not even knowing that they're playing out. So my first suggestion would be to get a notebook and write down every belief that you have about money and take a look at it. And if any of those beliefs are anything that are not loving, they're simply not true. And they're irrational beliefs. Now, one of the things people can do then that I find very effective. So for me, one of the most powerful tools in my toolbox is self-forgiveness. And so after writing down all of those beliefs, you can go back in and forgive yourself for believing those irrational beliefs. And what it does is it starts to lift the heaviness off of all of them. I forgive myself for ever believing that money doesn't grow on trees, because it does. I forgive myself for ever believing that money is evil. I forgive myself for believing that I am unworthy. So it's writing down all those beliefs and then applying self-forgiveness to each one of those beliefs. And then when you apply self-forgiveness to those beliefs, you replace them with a new belief, because if you don't replace the old belief with a new belief, the old one doesn't really get overwritten.
Right.
So then it's a case of forgiving yourself the old belief, and then my new belief is blank.
Yeah.
So for example, I forgive myself for believing that love of money is the root of all evil. My new belief is that the genuine love of money is the root of all transformation.
That's beautiful.
So that kind of thing. So self-forgiveness it can be used across the board for everything. And it does wonders for lifting up almost like an oppression that people have about prosperity and about money. And it's funny, I'm being reminded the word money itself used to be almost like a dirty word for me. I had to go through a lot of work to detach the like emotional attachments I had to the word money itself, because money was so had so much fear attached to just the word itself. So I think that is something a lot of people are probably needing to process. So they'll say prosperity instead of money. They'll say financial instead of money, because the word money has so much negative energy attached to it. So we need to go through and process all of that.
So David has had issues with his internet, and so he wasn't able to come back in to see us. So he's put a couple questions up here on the channel. So I'm just going to put the questions up, and I'm going to put one. I'll ask you one by one what he has. So David says, is there coaching involved in the program if someone is struggling to understand the modules?
Yes. So it's going to include a Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be going on there and doing videos and doing Q&As and answering questions along with that. And then also module 9 is all Q&A. The final module is all Q&A.
And then he has one more question. Can you share one of the topics of one of the modules that would be considered advanced?
Let me think. I have to think about what the different modules are. Well, one of them is about spiritual protection and protecting your money tree, which, as you've all seen, is something that people hadn't even considered. And teaching people how to protect, to clear and protect their own field, and clear and protect their money tree, and that the kinds of diseases that can affect your prosperity, that on the money tree, they actually look like a disease. Yeah. So for example, there was one, this was like a couple of months ago, I was looking at my money tree, and normally it's this beautiful gold color. And that day it was black. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on with my money tree? And what Spirit showed me is that I had a fungus on my money tree, and that this fungus was being caused by resentment that I had toward, well, I was in the middle of a divorce where I was having a little bit of resentment about money toward my ex-husband, and it was showing up as a fungus on my money tree. So I had to do some forgiveness work about that, and remembering that my ex-husband is not my source and supply, that my source and supply is source itself. And then I cleared up some of the resentment that I was having, and it cleared up the blight. It was basically what it was called. It was blight that was showing up as black
potato famine.
So that's something that I think is, I know it's completely woo-woo, but it is something that I teach that probably people aren't being taught elsewhere.
Yeah.
So David says, when you were talking about that, he says, that's awesome. So needed spiritual protection.
Yeah.
So that's his only way of communicating with us at the moment. So he's putting up these things so he can talk to you.
That's great.
So this is very interesting about the money tree. I never really thought of this, thought of money this way. And it's really quite interesting. I'm really interested in going in and seeing what your program is all about. And I don't know, what about you, Bonnie? Are you interested as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, because I work with the consciousness, and to me it's all about, creation, and you use your consciousness to create it. So why not do that with your abundance? Why not do that with money? I mean, I'm just thinking, why have I never thought of it? It's just crazy. So yeah, I mean, I know that your words and your thought patterns, you have to pay attention to that. Otherwise, you recreate what you're thinking or talking about.
Right.
But you know, it sounds to me like you're going a step further. You're actually moving into the dimension where it's created and teaching
Right.
them how to use that creator space.
It feels a little bit
And
more
it just
magical
sounds
than
really interesting.
Yeah, it
It's
feels a
very
little bit
magical.
more magical than
Yeah.
the way that we're being told to think about it. Like we're told, oh, you must not think about lack mentality and you must not do this and not do that. And this sounds like a little bit more magical. I think I might have a little bit more fun doing it this way than trying to like make my brain think that everything is good and everything is okay and all will be fine and this kind of way.
Yeah.
Right. And what's interesting is that you use the word not in there and how to not focus on lack. And whenever we use the word not, that we actually end up focusing on that because it's like, okay, here's an example that someone told me a few years ago. Try to not think about a purple tree.
It popped right into your brain.
You see a purple tree.
Hey.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to not think about something because we think about it. This instead takes the power of visualization and puts it into the field of creation.
Mm-hmm. I can feel that. I
So
feel
instead of saying try and not vision a purple tree, say we give you the freedom to create the tree that you want to see.
Right. If you want your money
Yeah.
tree to be a purple tree, then fantastic. It's a purple tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like the fact that we can plant purple trees like over to our husband's area. I'm planting a purple tree over there for him
Yeah.
to help him manifest.
But you
And well,
still
and
gotta
the mind's eye is just as powerful as our physical eyes, if not more so, because we create first with our imagination. So this is about using the power of imagination to physically create. And so my understanding is that our imagination begins the creation process. So we know everything that exists on our planet began first in someone's imagination. This is about using the power of that imagination consciously and intentionally so that it physically manifests. Now, it doesn't show up here as a tree, suddenly a purple tree growing in your living room, right? But we can grow it in the field of creation, and it can show up in your living room as a new TV and a new couch.
I love it. It's pretty amazing. It's just changing. It's just, or for me, it's just using the same tools that I've already been using, but thinking about it in a different way, just turning it around. And it sounds really amazing. I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Jessie,
And
do you have any questions for her?
I'm just very interested, and I'm listening and thinking because I grew up with a lack mentality because my mother had one and her parents had one. And, it just I was thinking back to like, have I ever not had some association, like, well, not necessarily negative, but just well, anyway, so the answer is actually no, because it's generational. I'm just thinking back to my youngest opinion, like, of money. And it's probably when I was like really young in elementary school buying Christmas presents at the little school store with like a dime or whatever, and like it brought me back to like that and still being like, okay, well, I have 10 dimes. So I have to, like, even as a small child being like, okay, this is all I have. This is it. And like trying to, I'm not making much sense, but I just feel like I'm really interested because my ideas were not, I didn't come in with my own ideas, I feel. So I'm realizing that I probably still don't have my own ideas. Like, I feel that clinging to almost everything I do, and it's just an interesting observation to go backwards and realize that I don't think I ever had a abundance attitude, because you know a parent didn't, and then one of her parents didn't, and it and beyond that, who knows? I mean, I don't know, but it's just interesting that you can just come to earth, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of
Definitely
different. It was
true.
different. It was different for me. Like for my dad, he had lived he grew up with nothing. I mean, he lived down south in a cabin and he had nothing. And so everything here seemed to him is rich. If you had your own nice home, everything he felt like he had no abundance problems because he would think of how it was when he was a child and how he was now. He felt that it was more abundant, and he didn't have problems with that. But he would make the money, but then he didn't spend it. He
Mm,
sat on it. So I think that's another block in a different way,
right.
because I think he could have had even more fun with it if he just didn't worry so much about keeping that huge nest egg.
And what's the point of having the nest egg if you never do anything with it? Then you're just hoarding,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah, yeah. You're just creating a blockage to where you could be helping others and doing things to keep it flowing, So that's where my thoughts was going. Like my dad had a different way of, but he didn't he had everything he needed. He had that going. He felt like he had everything he needed, but he also created blocks by always hoarding the money.
I don't
Yeah.
know how I got the blocks that I have because my family, we weren't rich growing up, but there was never anything about lack or anything like that going on because my parents worked very hard, and they always seemed to be able to manage and we were always seemed to be able to do everything we wanted to do, and they always, like, I think I was very lucky like that, and I don't know how I got to where I am now, where now I have problems with money where I feel like I never seem to ever get there. I don't feel like I have, like I guess I'm worthy of having all the things that everybody else has.
But here's the other thing too. We watched our parents work very hard to have what they had, and so then that's in our mind. We're not working hard enough. We're not working hard enough. You create all these roadblocks without even thinking about it. Or do I? Or you think, well, our family just doesn't have money like that. And just you're okay with that, which you're really not. But you just that's then so you're just creating that again. You're creating that you just don't have it because you decided you're not. You don't realize you're deciding that.
Right.
No one else is. Yeah.
I've got a question for you, Victoria. It really has nothing to do with any of this, because I was reading your bio. And what was it like for you as a person growing up in a polygamist cult? Like, because I used to be watching. I watch a lot of, they had on YouTube. There was different ones, like in Utah or something, like these Mormon places where they had like all these wives and stuff. And you see, I'd be watching all this, but I never like got a perspective of a child that was born inside of that. What is it like to be a child born inside of something like that?
Well, I think it depends on the person, right? Because we all have our own unique perspectives. For me, from the time I was really small, I just knew that wasn't what was right for me. Part of it too is we had something called United Order, which I laugh now because it's basically the same thing as communism. In my case, it was a commune, right?
Uh-huh.
Where everyone in the community gave all of their money to the leaders, and then the leaders dispersed it supposedly equally. But I could tell even when I was small that some people obviously got treated differently than others because some people had nicer houses and nicer cars than we did, even though supposedly we were all the same. And so I saw that discrepancy. And a lot of the teachings from me, I could see the discrepancies in the teachings didn't make sense to me. And I don't know if it's just because I was more spiritually inclined than some of the other kids. Some of the girls I grew up with are still there and perfectly content being married to a guy with 3 other wives. But it didn't, nothing about it ever felt right for me, even though there was a part of me that wanted it to be, because there was so much fear about if I didn't believe that way, I'd spend the rest of eternity in hell for not believing that way. So I was terrified to not believe it, even though at the same time, my inner guidance told me it wasn't what was best for me. So there was this constant battle going on between my inner voice, my voice of truth, and the men at the front of the room that were telling me what to believe. And so for me, and I also don't really have any happy memories. That I really don't remember ever being happy as a child. I was afraid of my parents. I was afraid of the men. I was afraid of God. I was afraid of strangers. So
Did you have to live in a house with, like, how many mothers did you have? Like, did you have to live in a house with more than one mother?
yeah, for a few years we had my dad's second wife lived downstairs.
And how did you finally get out of there? Like, did they shun you, or like, what happens when you leave something like that?
Yeah, I mean, there was some kind of shunning going on, but it was more of me leaving and not wanting to have anything to do with it. So when I did go back and visit, I was, kind of an obnoxious, rebellious 20-year-old. I admit it. I was yeah, I was kind of like, I'm better.
Yeah.
I was looking back, I was like, yeah, I was kind of snotty and arrogant about how I left and the rest of you people are clueless. So I left when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
I found a ride out from Montana to Utah. So the polygamist groups that you see in Utah are actually related to the group that I grew up in Montana. They're all interrelated.
The ones that I'd be watching there on the YouTube channel. Okay.
Yeah, they all intermarry, and even though each one of them had the only true prophet, for some reason it's okay for their daughters to intermarry. Yeah, that in itself is messed up. If your church is the only true church and your prophet is the only true prophet, and if you go to any other church or any other religion, you can't spend eternity being a god, basically. But it's okay for some reason for their daughters to marry men from the other groups. Yeah, it's really messed up. You'd think that wouldn't be, but I don't know.
Yeah, whenever someone tries to control your spirituality, you always know that that's not where you want to be.
Right.
Someone tells you how to believe about things and, controls the narrative, And so, I think we're all born with that in our heart to know that. But maybe some people really are so afraid that they don't see their way out. Thank goodness you had the heart and the strength to find a place to where you could be at. And you're doing this beautiful thing that you do now.
I know.
And it's so amazing. And look how far you've come. That's so amazing. And wow. And when you start out with such a difficult childhood and turn it around like that, it's just really, really amazing to help others and help them see their worth in this world too. It's just pretty amazing.
Thank you so much. And I apologize for all of the noise that's in my house right now.
You're okay.
I had to put mute on a couple of times because we're renovating, and my husband doesn't seem to understand that I'm doing live streams. And so every now and then I have to push the microphone down because the drill will come on or something.
Yeah, I was just looking. I'm like, how do I mute myself? My family knows that I'm on a live show right now, but yeah, well, that's how it is.
Yeah. Well, we all know that we all have families, and we all, you know, I take care of my mom, and she'll be banging out. She knows I'm doing something in here because this is up, but she's banging out the thing.
Where's my booze?
Can I get a booster? Can I have a tangerine? You know, it's just, you know, we all have homes. We don't, you know, it is what it is.
We're real people. That's the thing.
Yeah, we're real people.
And that's just the way life is now, isn't it? And I think after last year and people starting to get used to doing the boardroom inside their houses, I think that we're all kind of getting used to this new way of working from home kind of thing, which is a lot of people are doing, and they're not really going back. I don't think things are changing. I think that at least over here in Ireland, they're still doing, if you can work at home, you're working at home kind of thing.
Yeah, just like right now, my daughter just messaged me. Her car broke down in the middle of traffic. I need that. So I'm going to have to go get him. So I gotta turn my camera off. Sorry, guys.
Well, Victoria, do you have anything else to share before? Because we're coming up to the end of the hour. And is there anything else you would like to share before we close out?
It's really about reminding people that every single one of us is worthy, and that all of those beliefs that we have are hand-me-down beliefs, and to be willing to go into every single one of our beliefs and determine if they're true or not, and if they're based in fear or not, and to be willing to do the work necessary to disbelieve. And I know that's really difficult and can even be painful for people to have to check all of their beliefs at the door, so to speak. But it's really, really necessary if we're going to transform our world out of fear and into love, to be willing to do whatever it takes to look at every single one of our beliefs and see if they really are serving us and if they really are based in love or not. And that it's so well worth it to do the work to look at our beliefs and see if they really are serving our greatest good.
Well, thank you for such wise words. I want to take a moment to thank you so much for coming onto the New Earth and sharing your special tools and what it is that you have inside of you, because we all have our own unique special gifts that we have. And whenever we share our tools like this and we share out to the world, we make the world a better place, just one person at a time, just sharing their truth. We just really thank you for coming and hosting a unity circle with us. And if we can do anything to help you in the future, you're more than welcome to come on as many times as you want to, promote anything that you might be doing. We really enjoyed having you. And I think we'll go on, and I'm just going to let everybody know, if you have something to share out there, people out in the world that are watching this right now, and you have something to share that might uplift, inspire, and empower others, and you would like to come on and do a unity circle with us here on the New Earth AC, please let us know. Don't wait for us to invite you. Let us know. Let myself, Bonnie Bird, David Starr, let us know inside a messenger, or you can let us know by email for newearthac1111@gmail.com. And we would love to have you on and bring you on for a unity circle in the future. And so I'm just going to let everybody know what we have coming up. Next week, we have a unity circle with Meher Madden, and she's going to be talking about the Vedas, Shiva, and Shakti. And then next Thursday, we have 2 community chats where we get to learn a little bit more about some people. We're going to be showcasing Lisa Vivio and Sarah Elizabeth. And then the week after that, we have Kathy Mason coming on. And Kathy Mason's going to be doing a Unity Circle the Wednesday after Mayher. So Wednesday, the 18th of August, we will be having Kathy. And then we have another Unity Circle by a really lovely fella. His name is Adam. I can't say his last name, but what do we call him? The Black Swamp. What is his Black Swamp?
So, I don't remember.
I can't remember what he calls himself, but his last name is so confusing. I wouldn't even know how to say it. And he's going to be doing a Unity Circle, and he plays the most amazing. It's like these. What is it? An Indian flute? They're not like
Indian
flute. Oh,
flute.
and he'll come on and he plays like some magical music, and it's just like it takes you off into another world. And so that's what we have the lineup. I think that takes us into the end of August. And then we have more things lined up in September. So that's what we're looking at right now. And so hopefully we'll see you all there. And if you want to keep up on what we're doing, just go to our YouTube channel, New Earth AC. And everything is up there as far as when something is upcoming. And you just click the bell and it'll remind you when it's coming on. Bonnie, Jesse, do you have anything to say?
Just thank you.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. It was really a lot of amazing information, and we so appreciate you coming. And the door is always open whenever you want to come back.
Thank you. Appreciate the invitation to be here and to share. And I will be back. Yes, thank you so much for that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And everybody out there that's watching this today, go check out the 60 Money Tree. Go to victoriareynolds.com and check out her new program. It will be ready for everybody to purchase on 8/8. So go and have a look at it and prosper yourselves. Yeah.